It was a sunny afternoon in New York City, the kind of day when the hustle of the streets felt like background noise to the real chaos in Emily Parker's life. At 25, Emily was trying to make a name for herself as an artist in the concrete jungle. But her journey to get there had been anything but simple. Growing up, Emily thought she had it all. Her father, Thomas Parker, was a high-powered businessman with a heart of gold. They lived in a sprawling mansion on the Upper East Side, and Emily spent hours in the garden painting while her dad cheered her on. "You've got a real talent, Em," he would say, ruffling her hair with a smile. "One day, you'll have your own gallery." Those were simpler times, before her world shifted in a way she could have never imagined. It all started when Vanessa came into their lives. Vanessa was a struggling actress with big dreams and even bigger hair. She swooped in, captivating Emily's father with her charm and dazzling smile. "Thomas, darling, you simply must come to my show tonight," she'd say, batting her eyelashes. Before long, they were married in what felt like a whirlwind romance straight out of a cliché movie. Emily, only 8 at the time, could sense something off about it all, even if she couldn't put her finger on it. Then came Victor, her new stepfather, a smooth-talking businessman who always seemed to be hiding something behind his polished exterior. From the moment they met, Emily's instincts told her something wasn't right. "Emily, sweetie, come give your new daddy a hug," he'd say with his arms wide open. She cringed at the thought, preferring to hug the cactus instead. As the months passed, life began to unravel. Her father, once so full of life, started getting sick. At first, it was little things, headaches, dizzy spells, but his condition steadily worsened. Meanwhile, Vanessa was more focused on her auditions than anything happening at home. "Vanessa, I need you," her dad would plead weakly. "Oh, Thomas, you know how important this role is to me," Vanessa would reply, not even bothering to look up from her script. Emily's 10th birthday was the day everything came crashing down. They were all gathered in the dining room, a large cake in front of her, candles lit. She had just blown them out when she heard a thud. Her father collapsed to the floor, pale as a ghost. "Daddy," she screamed, rushing to his side. Victor called for an ambulance, while Vanessa stood frozen in shock. As they wheeled her father away, Emily caught a glimpse of something unsettling, Victor smirking. That was when Emily knew something was terribly wrong, but it was only the beginning of the nightmare. 2 years passed. Emily was now 12, but the years had aged her far beyond her actual age. The once grand mansion felt like a prison, and she learned to tiptoe through life, listening at doors, watching, waiting. One night, she overheard an argument between Victor and her mother, their voices muffled through the crack of the study door. "Are you insane? We can't keep this up forever," Vanessa hissed. "Relax, darling. Everything's going according to plan," Victor replied smoothly. "But the doctors are getting suspicious. What if they figure it out?" "They won't. The poison is untraceable, and your dear husband doesn't have much time left." Emily's blood turned to ice. Poison? A plan? Her head spun as she tried to make sense of it. "And what about Emily?" Vanessa asked. "Leave the brat to me. Once Thomas is gone, we'll ship her off somewhere. Military school, perhaps." Panic gripped her, and she fled, barely making it back to her room before footsteps echoed up the stairs. The next morning, she tried to tell her dad. "Daddy, I heard something last night about Victor and Mom." But before she could finish, Victor strolled in. "Oh, Emily, not this again," he said smoothly. "Thomas, the poor girl has been having such terrible nightmares. Perhaps we should consider therapy." Her father looked at her with pity. "Is that true, sweetie? Are you having bad dreams?" Emily wanted to scream, to tell her father everything, but the words got stuck in her throat. Victor's cold eyes locked onto hers, a silent threat. From that day on, it was like living in a nightmare she couldn't escape. Every time she tried to speak up, Victor was there, twisting her words, making her seem unhinged. "Did you hear that, Vanessa? Now she thinks we're poisoning her food." Victor would laugh, casting a sideways glance at Emily. Such an active imagination. Her father's health continued to decline, and the doctors were baffled. Test after test, they found nothing. But Emily knew the truth. She just couldn't prove it. Then came the day I had been dreading. I awoke to the sound of my mother's wails echoing through the house. My dad was gone. The funeral passed in a blur of black suits and hollow words. People patted my head, whispered how brave I was, how strong. But I wasn't brave. I was a coward. I had failed to save him. A week later, we gathered for the reading of the will. I sat there, my stomach in knots as the lawyer's monotone voice droned on. And then, like a hammer to the chest, I heard it. To my beloved wife Vanessa and her husband Victor, I leave the entirety of my estate. I blinked, stunned. He had left everything to them. Not a penny for me. It felt like a final betrayal from beyond the grave. That night, I couldn't hold back any longer. I confronted my mother. How could you let this happen? Don't you see what Victor's done? Oh, Emily, enough with these wild accusations. Victor has been nothing but good to us. Good? I spat. He killed Dad, and you helped him. The slap came out of nowhere. My cheeks stung with the force of it. She had never hit me before. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. I've had enough of your lies, you ungrateful little brat. Do you know what I've sacrificed for you? Sacrificed? I shouted. You've done nothing but chase your stupid dreams while Dad was dying. Her eyes turned cold. Well, you won't have to worry about my stupid dreams anymore. I've made arrangements. You're leaving tomorrow. Leaving? What are you talking about? My voice cracked. There's a lovely orphanage upstate. They've agreed to take you in. I stood frozen, disbelief washing over me. You're sending me away? Your own daughter? It's for the best, Emily. Victor and we need to focus on our careers now. We can't have you spreading these vicious rumors. She turned to leave, but something inside me snapped. You'll regret this, I hissed, my voice trembling with fury. Both of you. I swear I'll make you pay for what you've done. She paused at the door, not bothering to turn around. Goodbye, Emily. As I lay in bed that night, tears streaming down my face, I made a vow. I would survive this. I would grow stronger. And one day, I'd come back to show them exactly what happens when you mess with Emily Parker. 6 years in that orphanage felt like a lifetime. On my 18th birthday, I walked out the gates with nothing but a backpack and a fire burning in my gut. New York City was waiting, and I was ready to take it on. Good luck out there, Emily. Mrs. Thompson, the old caretaker, called after me. Remember, you can always come back if things get tough. I didn't even glance back. Thanks, but I'm never coming back. This place is history. The first few months were brutal. I bounced between shelters, took any odd job I could find. Waiting tables, walking dogs, even cleaning toilets, just to keep a roof over my head. One day, I was sketching in Central Park, my stomach growling, when a girl plopped down next to me. Wow, that's really good. You an artist? She asked, her smile warm and friendly. I looked up, cautious, trying to be. Why? She grinned, extending her hand. I'm Sarah, law student and art enthusiast. You look like you could use a friend. That was the day things started to change. Sarah became my first real friend. She'd bring me leftover food from her campus cafeteria and let me crash on her couch when I had nowhere to go. Emily, you've got serious talent, she said one day, flipping through my sketches. You should try selling these. So I did. I set up a small stand in the park and started selling my art to tourists. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Then came the day that changed everything. I was doodling in a coffee shop when a man sat down across from me, eyeing my work. You've got a good eye for detail. Ever thought about journalism? He asked, sliding a business card across the table. I snorted. Yeah, right, I'm just a starving artist. Jake Morrison, he said, editor at the Daily Chronicle. We could use someone with your observational skills. Interested in an internship? That internship opened up a whole new world. I discovered I had a knack for digging up stories, for piecing together details others overlooked. Suddenly, I had a new plan, a plan for revenge. Emily, you're becoming obsessed, Sarah warned one night, watching me pore over old newspaper clippings. I'm not obsessed, I shot back. I'm focused. Victor and Vanessa ruined my life. Now it's my turn. For years, I gathered evidence, built my network, bided my time. Every story I wrote, every contact I made brought me closer to my goal. And then, finally, a breakthrough. A tip about a massive corporate fraud scheme. As I dug deeper, one name kept surfacing. Victor Reeves. Holy hell, Emily, Jake said, looking over my notes. This could bring down half of Wall Street. You sure you want to pursue this? I nodded, my heart racing. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. But as the pieces began falling into place, doubt crept in. I was building a career. As I sat in my tiny apartment, my eyes flicked between the mountain of evidence on my desk and the blinking cursor on my screen. The story was ready, the facts laid out. just one click away from launching my expose. My finger hovered over the send button, but I hesitated. Did I really want to risk it all? Everything I'd built, all I could be proud of, just for revenge. Sarah's words echoed in my head. Don't let them win by letting hate consume you. I stared at the evidence, the fraud, the deception, the trail of lives destroyed by Victor Reeves. But as I thought about my future, about who I was now, and who I could be, the weight of my decision settled in. This was it. The past and future collided in that moment, and I had to choose. The series of articles hit like a bombshell. Corporate fraud exposed, a billion-dollar scam that shook Wall Street to its core. Suddenly, my name was everywhere. My phone rang nonstop. Interview requests flooded in. Emily Parker, the journalist who broke the biggest financial scandal of the decade. But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. As the feds began to circle Victor, I made an anonymous call. I have information about Victor Reeves. It's not just fraud. We're talking murder. The raid was surreal. I stood across the street, my hood pulled low, as federal agents stormed the mansion I once called home. Inside, Victor and Vanessa were hosting one of their lavish charity galas. The irony didn't escape me. FBI. Everyone stay where you are. I watched from the shadows as they cuffed Victor. His face, twisted in disbelief and fury, was a far cry from the menacing figure of my nightmares. He looked old, desperate. This is ridiculous. Do you know who I am? I'll have your badges for this. Vanessa stumbled out behind him, a shell of the glamorous woman she used to be, her life now fueled by pills and alcohol. Victor, what's happening? Make them stop, she slurred, clinging to him as the agents separated them. Then, her bleary eyes landed on me. For a brief moment, recognition flickered. Emily? Emily, please help me. I'm your mother, she pleaded, her voice weak and broken. I didn't move. I just stood there, silent, as they shoved her into the car. The door slammed shut, and with it, the final chapter of my old life. The trial was a media frenzy. I declined to testify. There was no need. The evidence spoke for itself. Victor was sentenced to life without parole. Vanessa 20 years for being his accomplice. After the sentencing, Sarah found me at Dad's grave. You okay? She asked quietly. I nodded, tracing the letters of my father's name etched into the stone. Yeah, I whispered. I think I finally am. The art show that followed was my way of closing the door on that dark chapter. Every painting told a story, of loss, of betrayal, of survival, and ultimately, of triumph. As I stood in the gallery, surrounded by my work, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of the past had finally lifted from my shoulders. Emily, congratulations. Jake's voice broke through the crowd. He grinned, waving a newspaper. The New York Times wants to do a feature on you. Rising star in journalism and art. You're going to be a household name, kid. I smiled, but my eyes were drawn to a painting in the corner. It was a phoenix, rising from the ashes with the New York skyline in the background. Thanks, Jake, I said softly, but I think I'm done with journalism. For a while, anyway. I've got some traveling to do, some living to catch up on. As the last guest filtered out of the gallery, I found myself standing alone, staring at the phoenix painting. The girl who had entered that orphanage all those years ago was gone. In her place stood a woman who had faced her demons and emerged stronger. I raised my glass to the painting and whispered, "Here's to new beginnings, Dad. I think you'd be proud." Emily Parker's journey from betrayal to triumph had finally come to an end. But now, I have a question for you. If you were in Emily's shoes, would you have exposed Victor and Vanessa, knowing it might jeopardize your rising career? Or would you have left the past behind to focus on your success? Share your thoughts in the comments below.